Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Good morning to those in USA, and then good afternoon for those that are in Turkey. And we are delighted today to have this webinar, Turkey and US Research on Technology AI in Teacher Education in higher education. Thanks for everyone for attending today's webinar. It's a part of webinar series organized by School of Education's Global and International Engagement Office. Our guests today are Professors Arif Altun from Hacettepe Üniversitesi, Ugur Kale from IU, and then myself, I will act as the moderator of this session. They are going to engage us in examining how artificial intelligence and simulation-based learning can enrich pre-service teachers' education both in the USA and in Turkey. I am Gamze Ozogul. I am a professor of Instructional Systems Technology and chair of Learning, Design, and Adult Education Department in Indiana University, and I will act as the moderator. The webinar will take form of a 30-minute conversation between the webinar hosts, and then we will proceed with a 20-minute question and answer period. And if you have any questions to us, to Dr. Altun or Dr. Kale, please post it in the question and answer tab in the Zoom. And then anytime you can post these questions during the conversation, and I will get to them as much as our time allows during the question and answer period. So I'm looking forward for this great engagement that we are going to have today. Next, we are going to do a few minutes of introductions. And I'll start with myself. So it felt like going through a memory lane because I'm also a graduate of Hacettepe University. And then as I was preparing for this webinar, I dived down into the photos and I found some wonderful memories that I had in the Hacettepe University Beytepe campus. And I graduated in year 2000 from Curriculum and Instruction Department in Hacettepe University Beytepe campus. You can see a snowy day, a sunny day in Beytepe campus, our classroom, a class of, I think, 85 students and myself in it, and a graduation day. So after 25 years, it is wonderful to be back in Hacettepe University with the audience and my colleagues in USA. After Hacettepe University, I completed my master's in METU, and then I moved to USA for my doctorate studies in Arizona State University. And since then, I graduated in 2006, and I've been working as a postdoc in electrical engineering, worked in Microsoft, and now I have been in Indiana University 14 years teaching in Instructional Systems Technology department. So I'm going to give the stage to Dr. Altun.
Greetings to all from Beytepe campus. It's nice to be together with you. So thank you, Dr. Ozogul, for the introduction. I graduated from the University of Cincinnati with my PhD in 1999. And since then, I'm in the field of computer education and instructional technology, what we call the department here in Turkey. My focus of research is mainly on the intersection of starting from literacy, educational technology, computers education, with the focus on learning, especially the cognition part. So I'm happy to share some of our research here with you today. So I will keep it short. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you very much. And that we are moving to our next webinar host, Dr. Kale.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ugur Kale. It's great to be able to present this for you guys. Like Dr. Altun and Gamze Ozogul, I also have connections to Beytepe campus and Hacettepe. It's 1998. That's when I graduated from mathematics. I was a mathematician, but I thought it was not good enough. I wanted something more practical. That's where my interest actually started moving toward teaching mathematics and then education. And so since 1998, I felt I grew a little bit taller. In this picture, it looks a little bit short. I don't know how it ended up, but that's one of the pictures that I was able to find. So in year 2000, I actually came to US, Indiana University, doing my master's in the Instructional Systems Technology department. I continue my doctoral degree in the very same area. And then I was a faculty in West Virginia University for the past maybe 18 years until 2024. And then the opportunities just show up. I am right now back to IU as a faculty. This is my second year. I focus on doing research and pre-service teachers, teacher educators, and in-service teachers using AI, using computational thinking for their teaching practices.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kale. So as we move next on our webinar, we would like to give an opportunity for our two webinar hosts to give a little bit perspective of what they are researching on, and then I'm asking them to talk a few minutes about their research, and then maybe let's start with Dr. Altun first and then go to Dr. Kale. Would you share with us your research study that relates to our topic?
Sure. I'll give it a start. I also shared our lab's website with the audience if they would like to see the other research we are conducting here. So this study that I would like to share with you is about a virtual classroom environment, which is called Sınıfta in Turkish and Simin class in English. This is an 3D virtual classroom environment where prospective teachers or teachers could enter the system, use it as a kind of game-like environment with different scenarios, and then they can practice their teaching. So this is the one that we've been conducting research in the last 5 years, so to speak. Especially with the COVID, this environment actually gave us a different window because, as we all know, we were locked in and we didn't have any interaction with the real classrooms. And we played with this environment, how to make it fruitful for especially prospective teachers. So this environment had been, actually, if we can just step back, this is called a series-based game learning, and it was an existing platform, accessible from the market, and there are some scenarios available, but you could also develop your own scenarios with different training modes, single player, multiplayer. And also the teachers can integrate their own lesson plans. They can choose their own sitting plans. And we have realistic student behaviors and feedback mechanisms were available. And each student could be characterized by their personality types, which gives another good dimension to the environment. And there are some classroom management issues embedded in the system. So I will give a little bit more detail about this environment, if we can just move to the next one. Thank you. For the scenarios, there were existing scenarios in the system, but the teachers can also change their scenarios, and the lecture plan or instructional plan can be embedded. Here they can choose how to process the class, and then they can change the class layout plan. And as you see, when students have classroom management issues, if magnifier comes in, and then the person can choose what action to take on. And there are 3 parameters here: concentration, engagement, and knowledge. These are taken for granted as the highest level. So depending on your interaction with the system, some of them decreases, some of them decreases very fast. So you have to take action to increase them. And at the end, you can get a nice report. But what is missing in this environment was the emotion part. So we thought that in the classrooms, we definitely interact with students with our emotions. So the question was, how do we detect prospective teachers' emotions in the system, and what if students contradict with their or challenge with their emotions in the teaching process? So that was the question we were actually wondering. So in the next slide, I would like to share with you what we did. In order to detect the emotion, we designed a series of experiments in order to analyze the mood of the practice teachers in this interaction. We used multiple modes like face expression, skin responses, brain waves, and then we use a diffusion model to come with an emotion pattern. And then in the system, we integrated an emotion triggers where when they interact with the students, we control the students by giving those mood state emulator input. So in the next slide, we also developed a kind of a recommendation system for them. This is the AI generated recommendation system. The students' interaction was also AI triggered. Here, when students completed or prospective teachers completed their teaching, we gave them such a recommendation and showing them throughout their teaching what kind of feelings they experienced and at which level in the course. And depending on that, we turned them into textual message and we showed them how they changed in emotion and under which circumstances, which refers to the behaviors. And then based on this discourse types, whether it is a request or an interpretation, how their emotions changed. So this gave us a good layout how to train their emotional stances and what happens if those emotions have been discarded. So that was the emotion recommendation. So what we found, as you can see from the graph, the observed emotions tend to decrease toward the end of the course, and anger and surprise were experienced in certain time periods. And disappointment was the least experienced emotion, which was good. We don't want teachers to be disappointed in the classroom. Happiness and neutral emotions had highly been experienced, so which is also good. So what we learned from this simulation-based approach was that this is an interdisciplinary approach, and it required really solid instructional design and a content management strategy. It may not seem economical at first glance. It's not easy to develop such a platform. So that's why this interdisciplinarity is important. And innovative technologies have all these issues in front of us. This kind of field and task-specific needs can be incorporated easily into this virtual classroom. So I'll stop here, and maybe with some questions we can elaborate if needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you have questions, please feel free to audience write in the question and answer. I'll go with Dr. Kale to get a little bit insight of what he is working in terms of pre-service teacher with simulations or AI. Then we'll go to our question.
Okay, let's
Dr. Kale.
go ahead and start. Thank you, Gamze. And again, hi, everybody. So what Dr. Altun presented really involves use of simulation tools for classroom interactions, whereas the projects that I've actually dealt with using simulations for scientific concepts. So for the past few years, by using an NSF fund, we were able to help pre-service teachers understand what computational thinking, which is an approach for solving problems, using that approach for their teaching practices. So we were able to work with two cohorts of pre-service teachers taking two separate science method courses. And we just hope that they will just work on in these courses to understand and develop their understanding about computational thinking. Next slide. So we believe computational thinking is not just a method, but it's something that intersects with inquiry-based learning. It has database practices, so that's something we emphasize in our courses. We also believe that in order for pre-service teachers to really use this approach, including AI and computational thinking in their teaching, they not only need the competence, but also they need to value, they need to see the relevance of this approach for their teaching, as well as they need to be interested in that. So this kind of reflects a motivational theory, but we emphasize both approaches in our courses. Next slide. So in the first course, we involve pre-service teachers using and designing simulations, focusing on a big theme, food access, a food insecurity, a problem that is more common in rural areas. We started with actually the very first, you see access food. It is a simulation which shows, depending on where you live, the kind of food store you're going to go and the quality of food you're going to eat is going to be different. So we kind of try to show and help them understand that this is a problem and it really has a lot to do with where you live. And one way to deal with it is actually to grow the food. And that brings the data practices that we wanted to have. In the classes, we have them conducted simple experiments that might take a few weeks where they grow certain seeds, cucumber or lettuce, and take their observations and turn that into simulations. So growing food is not easy. If you're a farmer or if you even like deal with any kind of plants, it's not easy. So it involves a lot of dull tasks. So we also deal with and talk about like different kind of robotics that might be used in agriculture as a way to deal with that. And one way to simulate was using a 3D model here, which we use Minecraft education to really automate certain tasks that will help sustain the food growth system. So in this course altogether, we really provided all those options with the hope that, pre-service teachers will get some ideas to design lessons and hopefully will implement this in the very second course. Next slide. So the second course is something that pre-service teachers had more time in their placement classroom. So they hopefully got some ideas in the first course, but right now in the second course, they were able to design lessons that might be involving the 5E designs, an inquiry-based kind of approach. In some pictures here you see is directly coming from their implementations, students really taking those data practices, involving those practices, and also maybe designing as well as constructing simulations. Next slide. So what we really realize is that I think we did really good in both courses, helping pre-service teachers improve their competence. That's one of the factor that is important for their real implementations. What you see in the middle here is what's happening in the summer. They're not taking any courses and they kind of forget maybe what they've done. So it really impact their competence level. Next slide. On the other hand, while their competence increase, they tend to lower their interest and they don't really see the value of using computational thinking, especially after the very first course. So they were really excited about it, but then the moment they collect the data, they use a lot of mathematics, using trend lines in Excel and turning that into formulas that we can use in the simulations, and was too much for some of them. So even though it was something really exciting and interesting at the beginning, toward the end, they're like, no, I'm good. This is too much. On the other hand, when you look at the second science course, we see that their interest started to pick up again. That's because they had the opportunity to really implement and spend time with their students and apply some of those ideas in their classes, during which we also provided some workshops to help them design their simulations and so forth. So next slide, please. Another finding that we have over these 2 years is that actually, definitely, their initial interest mattered a lot. If they're interested about this topic in the beginning, even though they lowered later, they were engaged in the course activities, which really resulted in their higher frequency of usage of this approach. On the other hand, we also realize that, while they are learning, while they're increasing their competence, it was also confusing. It was also confusing at certain points. So we try to use more unplugged activities instead of coding, and that helped benefited those who have low competence, but at the expense of lowering the interest of those who have high competence. Next slide. So in the age of AI, are we going to be continuing to teach our pre-service teachers or students creating simulations? I don't know that. In a very recent workshop that I provided to a high school, we try to focus on this project where students are working on helping a bus transportation route system and see how we can make it more efficient. So we spend, like what you see on the left side, we spend like a few hours helping them, how an object representing a bus moves around maybe a line, and how we can actually turn that into a real map. And so that took like for a few hours to really come up with what kind of things that might impact the efficiency of this bus route. So that's good. But at the end of the session, one student came up and said he used an AI to create a game. And I'm like, that's a cool idea. Let's actually use this if you can do that. With just a paragraph long, maybe description. We had in a few minutes have a simulation that's not exactly what we really had it, but it's something really useful, something that might be effective for students and pre-service teachers to learn from quickly. Next slide. So yes, when students are coding their projects, they are dealing with both micro and macro level problems. In the coding process, which is very recursive, they are dealing with it, they are having the problem, they are debugging it, so they are involved in the CT process to a higher degree. They are creators, they are really doing it, but it's going to take a little bit longer time, right? If the AI is the one who's coding for us, then our learners become more like a designers. They are just only describing it. It's a very fast process. But all they deal with is a macro level problem. In this case, just maybe, the solution for the bus route efficiency. They didn't have to deal with the micro level problems with the coding. So for that purpose, maybe their CT process might be a little bit weak. This is not to suggest that this is a dichotomous kind of spectrum, but it's more like a spectrum where we need to find a balance depending on what we really want to do for both pre-service teachers and students. Can we use the AI? Yeah, definitely. There are new studies coming up and helping us to understand that it really helps students code. But totally relying on that might definitely lower the kind of CT processes that can be elicited in this process. So I'm just going to stop here, and hopefully I made the 5 minutes. There we go.
Excellent. Yes. And then you and Dr. Altun left us at a great point of discussion. And then I have a question in terms of moderation. You said there's changes happening maybe in computational thinking and how pre-service teachers are given these tasks, and even students in K-12 settings, how they approach from a problem solving or coding to designing a description and understanding the concept in a deeper manner. So how can we prepare pre-service teachers for AI? What might change in the teacher education? And then I may pose a second question because we may have it. Are there any contextual issues you see in USA or in Turkey that may affect how we train teachers for the K-12 context?
Is Arif, Arif, go ahead. I think you start.
Okay, thank you. So let me start with this follow-up question, the specific pressing issues. I think currently I can outline the main tendencies into headings. The first one is the AI literacy, which is a hot topic at the moment. And Ministry of National Education is also pressing hard on this issue to increase the literacy levels. When we talk about this, I would like to take it to pre-service teachers' perspective, because we definitely need to train prospective teachers on that issue as well. When we take this AI literacy, not only how to use it, but also how to use it creatively, how to use it critically, and maybe even more important than those, how to use it more ethically. So those three pillars are important issues, and I think for Turkey, this is one of the topics that people are discussing. The second one is the AI and responsible use, I would say. When I say responsible use, we definitely are thinking about regulations and maybe some guidelines. This can also be reflected on pre-service teacher training as well. So when I emphasize this, I would like to underline the human part of it. How can we turn this? How can we make it more human-centered rather than a technology-centered innovation? In the field of instructional technology or educational technology, we experience such wins from all over the places, and even big debates on that. Medium is the message kind of thing. So I think this is also valid here as well. So this is another issue that I would like to point out. So maybe Ugur might have
Yeah,
other
and some of the
perspectives.
issues you mentioned, Altun, I think are universal questions we are trying to find out regardless where are we in the world. But let's see what are the insights Ugur have in terms of this AI or what
Thank
might
you.
change.
Thank you, Gamze. Very good questions. And Dr. Altun, thanks for the valuable insights. I totally agree about the AI ethical use and the kind of use. I think in addition to that, one really biggest pressing issue might be is the speed. I think the innovations and the technologies are improving so fast, so much that teacher educators or researchers in education are not able to match that speed. By the time we are conducting a research or by the time we are trying to understand certain tools, we move on to a new tools as well. I felt a lot, I see a lot of teacher educators and researchers, and including myself in certain points, where I feel I'm not competent enough to know and use a lot of tools for our teacher education students. We do research, but by the time we are doing it, we are moving on to a different idea as well. So I think the really pressing issue here is the speed and how we can really match it. How do we continuously, as teacher educators, as well as researchers, keep up with that speed of the technological innovation and turn that into to something useful for both our teaching as well as research? So to me, that's the biggest problem. But the second one would be is like any technologies, we have had issues in the past. The technology happened to be a standalone subject when it comes to teaching. So with the AI, that tendency might be the same, although it might be a little bit different. But we might again run into policies, standards, or implementations that just shows about the use of AI with maybe limited connection to the disciplinary content, what teachers are really trying to do and teach in terms of their content. Yes, let's go ahead and use an AI, but is it something that is relevant to my teaching, that is relevant to what I teach in math and science and English? There are really good connections. Students are already there. They're using it for their, let's say, assignments, sometimes in ways that we hope, they choose a different way of using it. But the fact is they're already there, but it doesn't mean the pre-service teachers really know how to meaningfully integrate it in terms of teaching and learning. To get those ideas, we are looking for some ideas from the teacher educators, and we're not there yet. So can we actually, as teacher educators, look at ways that we can connect the AI to not just the content, but also the pedagogy, but constantly also looking for the new innovations that are being developed so that we change our approaches accordingly.
I think those are very important points. And then in my research that I've been conducting with AI, it's not necessarily teacher education, but using AI in higher education to help instructors be able to give scalable and customized feedback. What I'm hearing from higher educator instructors are they feel a digital divide between college students and where they are in terms of technology. It, I think, relates to the speed that Dr. Kade, you mentioned. Everything is moving so fast. Sometimes students are ahead of the higher education professors, and then there's policies being built and how AI might be used, but there's also a digital divide again. It reminds me those years when we used to do pre-service teacher technology integration and they were talking about digital divide, and then I'm hearing more and more about this digital divide that the faculty feel they have between themselves and students, and also the speed of technology, not having the pedagogies, the policies, the rules, regulations, ethical use considerations, as Dr. Altun mentioned, ahead of us there. So in terms of the human-centered, I would like to comment on it. As education researchers and as I'm doing research on AI as well, I'm working with computer science professors to bring that technical expertise because I'm learning as well as I'm trying to build these research, trying to understand these educational problems. I am not like perfectly in the center as well, but I'm trying to educate myself how I can understand what AI is doing in the background because I don't want to treat it as like a black box that just gives you the answer. It relates a little bit like the example, Dr. Kale, you gave. The student was able to find the map so fast, but what did they develop in terms of mental models or cognitive processes in their brain when they were able to get that versus really coding it? And then how do we know that outcome is correct? How can we train students to question the outcome of AI that is coming out? Any response to these comments, Dr. Altun or Dr. Kale?
I think it is interesting to observe this digital divide from a generation gap perspective. So I completely agree. We really observe this. The new generation is coming with more equipped with the new innovative technologies, and we are just trying to regulate them, right? How to stop them. So the speed is there, but we don't want to run. We want to walk a little bit. And for the cognitive perspective, I think walking is important because if you just jump and jump, I think it's time to also discuss this issue as well. With the introduction of this AI, people think that knowledge is there and everyone can access it. But we shouldn't forget that when we have this, if we don't develop even if we have those cognitive skills, and if we don't run it on a certain domain, it wouldn't really make a sense. So we really need that knowledge. So we have to emphasize the interaction of those skills along with the content itself, I would like to underline.
Very nice. Any comments, Dr. Kale? Then I'll go to the audience questions as we have.
Yeah, just maybe briefly, I think
Yeah, please.
very interesting way of thinking the divide. I think unfortunately it's there, and it might be widening depending on what we do as teacher educators or faculty in higher education versus our students versus the students in the public schools. So even you see differences between pre-service teachers and the students in public schools too. That's really there. One example I can say is that I was observing a couple of elementary school students working on a project. They are using computer science concepts for problems, that they identify they impact their friends and anybody in the community. So they come up with the solutions, and it's generally in the form of a prototype, but they like to create a solution where there is an interface. A student is having a problem, let's say about mathematics or multiplications, and then they create this interface. Hey, if you have an issue with multiplications, click here. We click there, and then the very next thing goes to an AI. Ask your question to AI. So the solution is like from the student's perspective, they're really well aware about the possibilities and then the options the AI might provide. But the solutions are AI is providing the solution, and that's what I'm telling you to use to solve your problem. It just becomes that way. And the point that I was just trying to make, and what Dr. Ozogul also said is that we are using AI, and I think we're going to continue to use it. But the question is this somehow, in terms of our understanding, in terms of students' conceptual models, are we losing something there? In terms of solving a problem, we're going to use that. But if, as educators and learners, our goal is also to be engaged in the process, should we also let them be dealing with the process without the AI or in conjunction with AI, as opposed to just using the AI itself?
Yes, very, very valid questions. And I think like these questions are global. I think it's not like a country specific necessarily. This is as we're trying to figure out globally how we can do these things and train pre-service teachers, and then what are we going to teach, what are we going to assess, and what is it that is important for these next generations to be able to do with this availability of this new technology. So I'm going to go to the audience questions. We have a question from Dr. Hussein Kocasaraj. Hello, Dr. Kocasaraj. I was able to meet him before a few years ago, so welcome. So he would like to know, how can a teacher's professional development be improved with AI, Gen AI? Do you have any examples using Gen AI for teacher professional development, or any visions for that if you don't have any examples? Thank you for the question.
I think I can go ahead for this.
Yes, please.
Actually, currently we are running a project just to address this question, specifically how can a teacher's professional development be improved with using this generative AI. So hopefully we will be able to complete it in a year. So we are halfway there. We get some experience in designing this. And if we finish it by the end of this or next December, hopefully. So we will be able to implement it in teacher training programs. What we focused here is that we first wanted to define the teacher's professional needs. So it started with the needs analysis part. So there's a nice layout that we developed with the contribution of 6 countries in Europe. So based on this feedback that we received from teachers, we will give them the guidelines or the needed instructional examples. So we will see. So the answer to this question is, on my side, we are halfway down, but hopefully we will be answered this question next year better. Thank you.
And it seems like it's a question that is globally interest of all of us. Dr. Kale, do you have any insights for this?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question, Hussein. We do have professional developments, right? In not just in teacher ed, but in other, I think, sectors in industry. I think probably have much better examples there. As part of the projects that I'm involved here, we did not provide a professional development to a group of teachers, but rather we work with individual teachers who approach us for help and then who wanted to do research together. So we frame the professional development with the framework of co-design. So instead of just asking teachers to come here to a session and then we teach them something, we actually are approached by the teachers and we work with them individually, which involves us going and observing their classes and understanding what they want to do. And see if there is an expertise that we can provide. So an example that I can give you is a high school teacher who wanted to integrate generative AI for teaching English. So she was really overwhelmed by the amount of feedback and work that involved for, as she was working with her students in a class, like let's say 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and we're talking about 30 students. And as students are working on their essays, whether it's a technical writing or regular writing, it's just almost impossible for her to give the feedback. So she's basically understanding the value of generative AI as a way to maybe give feedback to students. So we were able to work with her. We were able to go and watch her classes. We were able to design something together and pilot it and then tested it again in her class, and then we watch it and we collect the data. So it became more like a research piece. But it might be a good model for a professional development program, a model that may be a little bit difficult to implement with multiple people, but at least it might involve multiple maybe teachers at the same time, but it involves the researcher as part of the lesson plan designers. So teachers and I think the researchers, we consider ourselves as experts in certain ways, but teachers are the one who are really knowledgeable a lot about the pedagogy part and then they're working with their students. So if we can use that approach, and then maybe we can really see what we can do with the AIs. We think we know AI, but as we work with that, as we come up with certain tools to use, we're realizing some limitations. And on that spot, we can go back and talk with teacher to really change what we do. So both of us really learning from that. It's a professional development, I think, not just for teachers, but it's also for us in that sense. It's a different approach, but I think it might be something valuable as we move forward with these changes with the AI.
And I think, like, in terms of my experience with it, I think, again, as we work with teachers, we need to tell them or try to cultivate this idea is like, what is the educational problem you are trying to solve? You are not like using AI just to use AI, unless your goal is just to like bring AI literacy or those type of things. But what is it that you are trying to do with AI in your content area, in your specific discipline? And let's see if AI is the solution. Maybe it's a job aid is a solution, or maybe a book is a solution. So we need to be really like understand what AI brings to the content and how it can improve the instructional practices, student learning, engagement. Then we can say, let's explore and how we can bring AI into the classroom. So there's another question from Karen, our doctoral student in ISD. She says, I believe the gap is widening alongside with the availability of Gen AI between, I think, the faculty and students or the generation. What next steps in education and professional development can be implemented with teaching educators and learners how to look past the novelty of Gen AI and interrogate? It is important to remember that Gen AI is a tool for human. Exactly, Karen, I was thinking the same way. So do we really need to use AI? We need to see, like, once the novelty effect passes, because in our field of instructional technology, we have seen this in the last so many years. Whatever is a new technology, we tend to jump on, and then there will be so many presentations on that in the conferences, in the journals. We try to integrate and then move on to the next one. So her question is like, what next steps in education and in professional development can be implemented with teaching educators or learners how to look past the novelty of Gen AI, but see it as a tool that contributes to students or instruction. I can jump in maybe as you guys are thinking, or
I'm just
yeah,
gonna
go ahead.
let Arif actually start. We just take turns.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's easy.
Yeah, or you can please go ahead.
Please go ahead, one of you.
Okay, all right. So Karen, great question. I think that also highlights, yeah, the importance of, understanding and emphasizing the need for AI. I mean, it is part of what we do as educators and what we use in real world, but there's a novelty effect. That is true. I think with any kind of innovation, that is going to be the case. And I think individually, maybe I think the very next step will be a teacher educator to really try out some tools to really understand the value or the limitations of this tool. It is a tool for the humans, not the other way around, right? So I like that, but I think without really trying as a teacher educator, or just like having a perception that, here's another tool, I don't think, I think it is valuable to try out, and I think we are using in certain ways, but not necessarily for teaching, and maybe not necessarily for as a way to model how our students, pre-service teachers or students who's going to be future teachers, really can use this. So the speed, I think I came back to that pressing issue. The changes is so much happening there. We can take the approach of, very critical, very, not willing to try or change. I think it's fine. We can be very careful. We can be very critical. Yet, I think to totally understand the value of it, we really got to try it. And that's going to be more internally motivated act. Because I think policies in the universities and higher education or opportunities, even though there might be there, and we have some at IU as well, but without the individual, I think, motivation, nobody's going to try. Nobody's going to really take the very next steps to not just trying, but actually using it as part of your teaching and use as a model for your for their future teaching as well. So to me, I think the very next step is inside the individual faculty. They need to take the initiative to try it and be critical about it, not just like, oh, hey, this is all good. Oh, yeah, I think it's great. There are great possibilities, but they got to be also super critical and to show you that, yes, there are some good things, but at the same time, it is causing a problem. Just like the example that I show, I believe that there are possibilities using an AI for coding or creating simulations, but that's going to elicit computational thinking to a much lesser degree. That's a problem there. In the future, do we need coding? Maybe, maybe not. I think we are already getting to a point where maybe these skills might also change. So we need to take that into account too. But it also goes back, what do we really want our students to really learn? And how is it going to be related to, their future occupations? And AI is helping us in what ways? I think we need to question that, and we will do that only by trying it, by really using it in our teaching and also modeling that to our own students.
I agree with Ugur and Gamze in combining this based on the real needs of the tool as itself. And Karen, this is an excellent question, and we've been experiencing this, for each technological tool we we face. But I also would like to underline the concept of need. I think we need to combine this tool based on the needs of the teachers. I think this is what we are missing. It's not only the tool that should be used, but from the literacy perspective, we also need teachers to develop these skills to use this in their classrooms, but for what purpose? And again, if we don't pinpoint the problem that this technology is good for, the process is just a kind of fun, nothing much more than. So I think we have to find the ways to integrate this into teaching based on the current problems we face. And generative AI has a lot of promises for sure. So the problem is which questions this tool is the answer.
Very good, very good point to leave us to the next one. So yes, I think we are, like as Ugur and you mentioned, we need to like do a lot of research and trying to understand what goes into AI and how it works. So we can, as educators, teacher educators, we can educate ourselves as we bring these research studies and then share with the teachers as well. So we have another question from Arpita Paul asking, how can we ensure AI implementation promotes digital equity and advances inclusive pedagogical practices rather than perpetuating systemic disparities? This is a very difficult question. They asked me the same question when I was doing the keynote in Mexico. So this is a global question. And I don't know if we have a answer yet, other than like trying to acknowledge and work towards that it promotes the digital equity. So any reflections on that? That's where I'm at this moment.
Arpita, this is, I think, one of those, the questions that can be, we can talk hours and hours on that, right? For this inclusive part, I think we shouldn't forget that part for sure. I also approach this from the literacy perspective again. Currently, we are just recipient of this tool. We are just playing with it. But as educators, just like the computers, when we faced this tool for the first time, we were just hitting some buttons and it was showing us something, and someone was designing something at the back. But as time processed, teachers became content designers, teachers became content producers. And then we came to understand that this tool can really flourish our thinking and penetrate our cognitive processes. And then we realized by using those tools, new terminology entered into our agenda, like computational thinking. So then we started to make sense of this tool in a more helpful way. so that we progress and we make the living of the new generation solid and progressive. So I think it's the same with this Gen AI as well. So as we start to develop our own processes, and when we become not only the recipient but also the producers of AI, then this inclusive pedagogical practices will flourish, and we will make sense of it much solid, I guess, I would say.
Dr. Kale, do you have any insights?
Yeah, I think just thinking about this, yes, it is a very difficult question to answer as well, but I agree with what Dr. Altun mentioned. And the other thing I will add maybe is the educator himself or themselves. Are they even aware about pedagogical practices, inclusive pedagogical practices or digital equities? Are they aware of these issues at all? Because if they are not aware, and then the way they are going to use AI, let's say for planning or creation of maybe some teaching materials and resources, not going to be inclusive. It's not going to be and doing anything. It will probably continue to perpetuate those disparities. But if I'm aware of those problems, and if I'm aware of like how my students might be different, coming from different backgrounds and doing different kinds of work, and if I'm not changing the content accordingly for those students, and even if I ask the AI to help me come up with some materials, I'm not going to be using the right prompts to, let's say, just say something about, how to address, or create a content that is also relevant to this student or that student. So I think it goes back to that prompt engineering, but starts with the consciousness. Am I even conscious about these issues? And if I am, probably I'm going to ask questions related to that in my prompts. And hopefully the AI might give us some materials, some solutions that we can maybe evaluate. But I think it starts with us, and then the AI will help us come up with some ideas. I think that's what I would like to say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the key point I would like to emphasize, you say AI will give us answers and we will evaluate. I mean, human needs to evaluate and then check what AI is giving us, because I mean, sometimes AI is biased too, as you say, like how we can catch those biases and then promote equity and then to use it to advance our inclusive pedagogical practices. We still need to use our expertise in teacher education or in our field to be able to answer these and then change our practices to address that. So I'm looking at time. We have 6 minutes, and then we have a very long question from Dr. Semiral Öncü. So she's talking about how educators can practically rely on AI, given that it sometimes hallucinates and then some content generated with AI may be incorrect. I think it just connects what we are talking about now, like the educator must be in the loop. So what we get out of AI is not to be trusted, because what is it? So as novices, what I see in my research is students tend to trust AI outcomes more than as if it's the objective outcome and is correct. So I think it becomes very important, like how we teach them how to critically analyze the AI output, and then how they can synthesize this information, evaluate it for its correctness, and then give us what processes they use to triangulate the data they are getting from AI. If you have like 1-2 minute responses to Dr. Öncü's question, please go ahead, then I'll close our webinar.
Yeah, that's also a very timely question. We tend to believe that generative AI gives you all what you need, but this is epistemologically not correct. So we have to make sure that the same thing is valid for many search engines as well. So as we discussed in the intro, in the very beginning of our discussion, relying solely on this tool. Taking it, there is a tendency that skills are more important, let's focus on skills. But if you don't have this knowledge or the domain that you will implement your skills on, it is something missing. So I think at some point we have to focus the epistemological beliefs in the integration of AI for sure. Science education had been doing it for many years. Other fields are doing it for many years. So I think we also need to discuss that as well.
Yeah, or let's have a 1 minute or 2 minute reflection from you for this question.
Okay, thank you. And hi, Semral. Semral and I were classmates here,
Oh,
and same as with
wonderful.
Tuncay. I see Tuncay Sertaç there as well. Hey
Oh,
guys, good
that
to
is
see you. So
wonderful.
very quick response. I think the one way is probably to model it. I have, let's say, I have a class teaching students about writing annotated bibliographies and turning that into an outline which can be used for literature review. And I know that some students will rely on the AI because after you creating annotated bibliography, coming out with those categories will be tough. It's going to take some time. I show a very traditional way, scissors, cutting things and putting things on table to see which one merge. But I also show a model that, look, you can actually ask the very same thing in the AI, put all your data in there, put not the data, but the your literature review findings, and then see what kind of categories will it come up with. I show two examples of what I did, and I show the problem with what the AI actually suggested to me. So I was just able to say that, look, you can do that. It's going to be fast, but what the AI is going to suggest is really not necessarily reflecting what you think. To me, like it's totally unnecessary categories generated, and some of them are inaccurate. It's referring to certain literature review that even doesn't exist. So I think one way is to really model it. The second way might be in their classes, in the assignments. You can ask the students to actually have two versions of maybe their writing. The one is their maybe version that's enhanced. The second one is maybe the AI's response to the prompts, and you can ask them to even critique and just write a response. How to evaluate what the AI actually said and how their responses or their essays or whatever the assignment they create is maybe different from that. So anyway, I just stopped there. I know we are running out of time.
Yeah, that's a wonderful response, and then we are trying to still do. But what I find also, like my last word, there's a big differences between novice and experts. So sometimes professors, like we have done many literature reviews, we can catch these things, but when novices rely on these, they don't know exactly what. There's an extra category, like Ugur was saying, like they need to figure out those type of details by doing it more, and then maybe these reflective practices in the courses as a result of modeling together with the instructor may help. I think we come to the end of our 1 hour wonderful webinar. Thank you, Dr. Altun and Dr. Kale, for joining me. And thank you for all our participants across Turkey and across USA. Hopefully we will see you again in another joint event with Turkey and USA. And have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
And
Bye.